Speaking of games that will no doubt be value for money, it is the Panthers versus the Eels, and it's a very, very different looking Panthers side. So for a start, Charlie Staines is your fullback this week. Brent Naden will be returning for the Panthers. He will slot in on the wing with Crichton as his centre. Tyrone May in the 4 shirt, Toto outside him. Matt Burton is now your 6 with Jerome Luai in the 7. Leota, Coruscant, Fisher Harris. Kickout is back. Capewell as well is making the quick turnaround from Origin, as well as Isaiah Yeo. And then the bench is pretty much unchanged with Kenny and Sorensen, but Leniu and Liam Martin will also be in the 17 shirt. So the Eels' big change is, of course, the inclusion of Micah Sevo. He's back from suspension, so no Sean Russell this week. He drops out. Interesting to see that Hayes Dunster is still retaining his spot, as is Wonga Blake. And as for the bench, it is Nia Curry, Lane, Kafusi, and Cartwright. Other than that, the Eels are unchanged from the Eels side that we are very, very used to seeing with that very strong and very dominant forward pack.
Para 13 plus. Para 13 plus. Because there's no Cleary, because there's no Dylan Edwards, they lose a lot of structure out of that spine. Cleary is a game changer. We saw that in Origin. A fantastic game manager, but someone who can break the line. Now, obviously, Luai and Burton both can do that, but they haven't played together as a halves combination. Not for a very long time, at least. Now, Burton and Staines at 6 and 1 does worry me. It does a little bit, because they have that sort of combination that they played out in country football. But, and this is the big but, that does not make up for the absence of Nathan Cleary. Nathan Cleary is the game's number 1 halfback, arguably one of the best, if not the best player in the world behind Tom Trbojevic at the moment. And the Panthers lose a lot because he's not there. Tyrone May is too slow. I'm saying all this now about Tyrone May, knowing he very well could show Wonga Blake up and just run rings around him. But Tyrone May has proved this year that he's not an overly top-notch first-grade player, not like he was a couple of years ago pre-sex tape scandal. He in the centres, especially if he's on the same side as Micah Sevo and Tommy Opacek, he could be in a little bit of trouble. Because I have no doubt that they'll send Sevo and Opacek at him, but you'll also have the second rowers running that angle straight towards him. And May is not a very good defender. Brent Naden hasn't played a game of NRL all year. He's been great in reserve grade, but we know that this is a different step up. It is a big step up, and I don't know how he's been going outside of the stats. He could be running for 200 meters, but he also could be making 5 errors. I don't know. Bringing back Kickow is big. It is huge. Having him alongside Capewell in the second round, Liam Martin coming off the bench is big. It's going to be a tough forward battle. Leota and Fisher Harris against Campbell Gillard, the former Panther, and Junior Paulo. Madison and Papali'i against Kickow and Capewell. Brown v. Yo, Lussick v. Coruscant. And then obviously the bench battle of Nia Corey, who is very quickly becoming Mr. Fix-It, alongside Sean Lane, Kafusi, and Cartwright against Kenny Sorensen, Leniu, and Martin. I'm still going Para 13 plus. I'm going with my gut here. I do think Parramatta can go back-to-back in terms of games at Bluebet Stadium or Panther Stadium, whatever you want to call it, and take down the Panthers on their home turf. I do think it happens. Unfortunately, I also think Jerome Luai scores a try. Luai will slot in and try to play that Cleary role. It won't be as good. It won't be as crisp, but Luai will use that step and get around some tight forwards later on. The other one I'm going to go with on an anytime try scorer is Clint Gutherson. If he gets wrapped around the back and targets some center wing combinations that haven't played together, May and or Naden and Crichton, or Crichton Top or May Naden, however they want to line it up, they haven't played together at all this year. Not in those positions. The combinations aren't great. It's what we were saying with Dunster and Blake and Opachik and Ferguson, Sivo, Russell, that whole turnstile that's been Parramatta's backline recently. These combinations aren't set in stone. They haven't had a lot of time to work on it. They wouldn't have thought that this was going to happen because we weren't thinking Cleary was going to be gone. So they've got this week to work on it, but it's still going to be up in the air. Gutho will go wrapping around the back, dumbing out wide and dart through. Also wouldn't be surprised if Dunster goes over. Parramatta 13+, Jerome Luai, Clinton Gutherson anytime. That's my bet.
Okay. See, I do worry about this one just because, Panthers versus Eels is always a tight one. These two teams both show up. It's always an absolute... It's just a war. Every time it's a close run game. But then again, you usually have both teams not running on their reserves like this. And I think Opacek, for me, is the guy that's gonna break the line. As you mentioned, you got Maytoto. That is not a big edge. Two relatively small players with a semi-trailer that is Micah Sivo just parked out there. They're going to be aware that he's there, and they're going to try and bundle him into touch wherever they can and get an early win over him. I think Opacek just takes the ball to the line, shows it to Sivo, and goes himself. I think Mayer's going to take that dummy more often than not because two small men are as good as one big man, and Micah Sivo is not a small human being, especially when he wraps the ball up like it's just like it's a ping pong ball in one hand and takes off down the wing. So I reckon Opacek's going to go through. I'd be tempted to double up and say Sivo gets one as well, because I tell you what, if Opacek sells that dummy once and goes to himself, they're going to be aware that it's there, and then second time around, just pop it to Sivo and watch him go over the top of Toto. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go Sivo and Opacek anytime. I'm just going to say Parramatta on the line. I'm not going to go any margin on this one, just because I am very wary of the fact that, yes, the Panthers are missing their dominant half, they're missing their star player, and they're missing their standard fullback as well. It wouldn't surprise me if the Panthers found a way to hang in this one and make it a tighter run affair than the paper would have us believe. But looking at the team, I'm surprised that Staines is the choice for fullback there. Crichton's played more fullback than Staines. I can get that you maybe don't want a Staines Naden combination on the wing on your edge. Maybe even drop Naden at fullback and see how he goes there. But that's what the Panthers are going with. We'll have to see how Charlie does at fullback. You do lose a little bit of attacking threat with him there because Staines is a finisher and he's a very good finisher. But in terms of a returning runner, he's not renowned for the meters that he makes. He's a relatively slender fullback in comparison to the fullbacks that you've got doing the rounds of the NRL at the minute. So you potentially lose a lot of meters made there. So I'm going to go Eels on the line for this one, just with very, very little confidence, to be honest.
If you go Eels on the line, they're +5.5. If you go head-to-head, they're currently $2.50. If you go with Matty on the line and not head-to-head, with Sivo and Opacek, it's $8.25. If you go Parramatta head-to-head, it's $9.50. If you have some cojones and go Para 13+, Gutherson and Luai anytime, you are getting the chef's kiss of $63.50 at the moment.